Have you ever wondered why some people leave a stronger impression than others? They don't always have the best stories, they don't always have the best looks, yet somehow people remember them. What makes certain people so magnetic? For a long time, I thought charisma was something people were simply born with. Either you had it or you didn't. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized that charisma isn't some mysterious gift. It's largely a set of behaviors and qualities that can be developed. And while different experts define charisma in different ways, most descriptions seem to come back to three qualities: presence, warmth, and power. When these three qualities work together, people tend to become far more memorable. When one is missing, the effect often weakens. Power without warmth can feel intimidating. Warmth without power can feel uncertain. And without presence, neither warmth nor power can be fully felt. So let's look at each one. Presence. Imagine meeting two people. The first spends most of the conversation talking about himself, his achievements, his experiences, and how amazing he is. The second asks about your experiences. He seems genuinely interested in what you have to say, which makes you feel amazing. A week later, who are you more likely to remember? It's the second person, right? Not because he was more impressive, but because he made the interaction feel meaningful. I've always found that interesting because it suggests that charisma has less to do with convincing people you're important and more to do with making people feel important. And that's where presence comes in. Most people think listening is about maintaining eye contact, nodding, smiling, and asking good questions. Those things certainly help, but presence is simpler than that. When someone is speaking, give them your undivided attention. Not half of it, not the leftovers after you've planned your next response. One of the most common mistakes people make in conversation is listening just enough to reply. They're preparing the next point, thinking about how they sound, trying to say something clever. Meanwhile, the other person can feel that their attention is divided. When you genuinely listen, people feel it. People feel understood, and people are naturally drawn to those who make them feel understood. There is another part of presence that's just as important: comfort. When you are tense, people often become tense too. When you relax, they tend to relax as well. Think about how you behave around close friends or family members. You're usually not analyzing every word or carefully managing every movement. You're simply present, and that ease creates connection. Presence is not about performing confidence, it's about giving your attention fully and being comfortable enough to let the conversation happen naturally. The second element of charisma is warmth. By warmth, I don't mean you have to agree with everyone, and it certainly doesn't mean being nice all the time. People are surprisingly good at detecting insincerity. When kindness is genuine, it feels different. Have you ever met someone who said all the right things, yet something felt off? And have you ever met someone who said nothing extraordinary, yet you immediately like them? The difference often comes from what's beneath the words. People notice what you feel. They notice whether you're genuinely interested in them, whether you respect them, whether you're curious about them, or whether you've already judged them before the conversation even begins. That's why one of the simplest ways to become warmer is to approach people with curiosity. Assume there is something you can learn from them, not because it's always true, but because it encourages curiosity, and curiosity tends to make conversations more genuine. Warmth also involves generosity. If you know something useful, share it. If you can help, help. If you have information that could benefit someone, offer it, but let them decide what to do with it. No need to follow up. And finally, warmth involves acceptance. You don't need to agree with someone on everything to treat them with respect. You can disagree honestly. You can have different preferences. You can see the world differently and still remain kind. That combination of honesty, respect, and generosity is what gives warmth its strength. The final element is power, and this is probably the most misunderstood part of charisma. Power is not dominance, it is not arrogance, and it is not making other people feel small. At its core, power comes from self-respect. It's knowing what you believe and not abandoning it simply because someone disagrees. It's setting boundaries when boundaries are needed. It's being able to say no when no is the right answer. It's reminding yourself, even when there is pressure to become someone else. A person who respects themselves tends to appear more grounded, more certain, more stable, and that naturally affects how others perceive them. Power also shows up in body language, not because of secret tricks, techniques, but because confidence influences the way a person moves. People who feel secure in themselves usually appear less rushed, less reactive, less concerned with gaining approval. That's why comfort matters so much. The person who is comfortable in their own skin often appears stronger than the person constantly seeking validation. If you remember only one thing from this video, remember this: charisma is not about getting people to notice you, it's about making people feel noticed. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself and start paying attention to the person in front of you, conversations begin to change. What do you think? Have you ever met someone who seemed naturally charismatic? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, stay curious,